Hey there! This is a theme that I have been wanting to make for a while because it's inspired by one of my favorite movies, The Greatest Showman. I must admit that I had been reluctant to make it because I felt I would be unable to make it justice, but if you never try, you'll never know, right? In the movie, the credits are accompanied by beautiful conceptual art images, which were my main inspiration. But I had to experiment with different mediums and techniques to find the one I would be most comfortable with. And pointillism was a definite winner. Even when I knew it would take hours to put together, I could not go wrong with it, especially because I am not good at drawing the human shape. But I love the end result, and though initially I planned on using only gel pens, I am really glad that I used those metallic watercolors because they are the life of this setup. I was a bit surprised with the results of my Instagram poll because half my audience did not know about this movie. If you have not watched it, please do so now because there are some spoilers coming up. I usually don't like musicals, but this one was so perfectly done that everything from the casting to the music, the choreography, and the photography all come together to indulge the senses and leave the viewer with a strong, happy sense of empathy and humanity. As one of the characters puts it, the show is a celebration of humanity. But, and there is always a big but, having said that, The Greatest Showman was inspired by a true story, which sadly had to be tweaked, if not completely changed, so that we love the protagonists and the lessons we learn. But let me tell you more about it. According to Collider.com, The Greatest Showman took great license with the story of Barnum and his collection of performers. Barnum himself wasn't quite the altruistic do-gooder as portrayed by Hugh Jackman, nor did the performers who worked for him always lead lives of contentment and bliss. While Hugh Jackman's Barnum is empathetic and benevolent, the real Barnum was less of a full-hearted humanitarian and more of a ruthless exploiter. Now get ready for a slice of harsh reality. The real bearded lady Annie Jones was turned over to Barnum by her own parents before she was even a year old, and Barnum paid her parents $150 to exhibit her in this show. Like the character of Letty in The Greatest Showman, Annie was a strong woman who hated being labeled as a freak and who fought hard against Barnum's use of the label to describe her and her fellow performers. She remained a part of Barnum's act until her death from tuberculosis at just age 37. The real Tom Thumb, Charles Stratton, was first discovered when the boy was just 4 years old. But Barnum created a complete myth around him, saying he hailed from England and that he was much older than his actual age. Barnum eventually took 11-year-old Stratton to England and marketed him to high society, where Stratton landed a private invitation from Queen Victoria herself. Overall, Stratton's life was more charmed than those of most of Barnum's performers. He lived comfortably with his wife until he suffered a stroke and died in Connecticut at age 45. Chang and Eng Bunker, the conjoined twin brothers, were born in Siam, which is now Thailand, in 1811. They were the world's first well-documented conjoined twins. At age 22, they were discovered by a British merchant who bought the twins from their own mother for $3,000. He brought the boys to the US and began putting them on display. They were exhibited for hours a day, every day, and were constantly on tour. Their partnership with Barnum himself was very limited and sporadic. As they grew older, the twins battled financial difficulty and alcoholism, and at one point, they requested that a doctor perform surgery to separate them from each other, which at their ages would have killed them. So they remained together, embittered until Chang's death from a cerebral hemorrhage in 1874, followed by Eng's just a few hours later. These are just a few examples of people with curious looks that made it into Barnum's show, but there are many more like the dog-faced boy or the tattoo man whose stories you can also look up. As for the true story of the Barnum-Lind partnership, This one is much less like a romance as portrayed in the movie, and much more like a standard business deal. Jenny Lind had already retired from show business, but Barnum offered her a stunning $1,000 per show for 150 performances in America. The real Jenny Lind was down to earth, and she preferred a plain look, letting her voice captivate the masses rather than her appearance. By all accounts, the relationship between Barnum and Lind was strictly boss-employee. She toured with his show for just 9 months before heading back to Europe. A final interesting fact is that the movie's romantic story between theater producer Philip Carlyle and high-wire performer Ann Wheeler is a great story, but complete fiction. All in all, the movie is a masterpiece built around the true story of an ambitious man that stepped on the values that the movie seeks to exalt, and it is truly victorious at doing so. For even when Jackman's Barnum does show that initial greed, he always treats his performers with love and respect, eventually becoming a big united family with them. But that is the magic of movies, right? Turning a sad story into a celebration of humanity to try and make of our society a more loving and inclusive haven where everyone can thrive. So let's enjoy the show while we work on our own values, for we are all humans, and as the proverb says, I am a man and nothing human is alien to me. And here's the final flip through of this colorful theme. It took some time, but I enjoyed every single dot. I think my favorite is the one where I drew all the characters together, because that is probably my favorite part of the movie. The song This Is Me and the meaning behind it all reminds us that we are all fighting battles that others don't necessarily know about, and so we need more empathy and respect to go on. I hope that you enjoy this setup as much as I did, and please let me know your thoughts about the movie or about the true story behind it. I always enjoy reading all of your comments and really try my best to respond to them all. Thank you for all the support, and as usual, thank you so much for watching.